Hey there, everyone. Welcome back to my channel. So I had a question come in from the group, and I think this is a great question. I'm just starting out. What should I start with? Oh my gosh. How come we haven't covered this? I'm actually wondering why we didn't do this video, but I'm doing it now. So in any case, I'm going to go over in this video a couple of brushes you might want to pay attention to, a couple of watercolor sets that you might pay attention to, um, a couple of really inexpensive sketchbooks, and an easy way to get started and not overwhelm yourself. And I think that that's really, really important today because there is so much going on in watercolor. There's so many choices, right? So where do you start? Well, when I first started with watercolor, I actually started with a time-tested favorite, which was Winsor Newton. This is a rather expensive palette, though, to start with, but it's still a good one, and it came with, I don't know if I have all the colors. Yeah, they are. It came with a decent range of colors, right? And it has a nice palette. The palette's easy to use. It's pretty cool. This is a great way to get started. There's nothing wrong with this at all. The thing I did notice, though, is that the watercolors being in the pans, they were a little bit light to deal with. They weren't always the best performance. And, you know, again, it's a Cotman series. So Winsor Newton Cotman is like the student grade. I find it to be a little less exciting once you get into watercolor, right? If you want to start out with something that's maybe a scale up and still want a lot of watercolor, you guys asked me about White Knights. I happen to have a ton of White Knights from the very beginning. These sets don't cost a lot, and they come with an amazing amount of paint with 10 ml tubes. Tubes are always more concentrated than the pans, and they last so much longer. So I would definitely look into White Knights if you can get that in your area. It's from Russia, St. Petersburg, and I really love these colors. I think that they perform really well. I'm sure I have a swatch of them somewhere from the beginning, and I'll do some more work with them on this channel now that I know you guys are so interested in which sets. So like, for instance, if we just briefly take a look at this, let me turn the lights on. There we go. Much better. Mission Gold was one of the good beginning sets, the pure pigment sets, but it's gotten really pricey and it's not really, you know, as good as some of the other stuff that's out now. White Knights was always a really good performer. It had translucent, you know, transparent colors. You get the tubes, you get a lot of color and a lot of paint for the money, and it performs really, really well. It flows well. You're not going to work against it. Schmincke, of course, is one of my tried and tested favorites, but it is very, very pricey for beginners. And so is Daniel Smith. It is very pricey for beginners. But Sennelier has a great set that you might not know about, and it's really all you need to get started. So let's talk in this video about the Sennelier set and some things that you can learn for just $20. I mean, how can you get started? You could get started with Sennelier for $20. Yeah, and that's a French beautiful watercolor that if you look at per tube, if you were ordering some of the other colors per tube outside of the starter set, you're going to pay a lot more money for it. So why not take advantage of these starter sets? I know in the beginning when I first saw this starter set, I was like, $20. Oh my gosh. Like I could get several of these and literally have my start be Sennelier paint 10 millimeter tubes. And I did. I got literally 5 sets of these at $20 because I just couldn't figure out any other thing to start out with that would be better for me. So I have a lot of extra sets. But in any case, something you can do with these sets, and we're going to swatch them and do tests on them in a second so you can see how great they are. I actually take the this out and just buy some pans, which doesn't cost a lot. You can either put magnets or double-sided tape or just like this silly putty underneath them or even just alongside of them and secure them in like that, which is so simple. So basically I would just put this putty or whatever it is that you're going to use to stick them. I wouldn't do anything permanent because honestly, you're going to want to take them out and clean them every once in a while, right? And you can just line them up just like that and create a really, really great start for no money. I mean, literally, you get the tin, you get all of these for $20. So all you really do have to figure out is what brush you're going to use. So you can invest in a nice brush with all that you save. And literally, I think you could get a brush from, like, this is Neptune by Princeton. There's, I don't know if Da Vinci has a brush that's economical. I love this one, this Da Vinci Casanio. This is really pretty, and then and great to use. And then I also use a lot of Escoda brushes. So Escoda has an amazing brush set. Actually, there's some travel brush sets that I have coming in for my birthday that I'm going to be reviewing on this channel. That might be the ticket for you, because you could put the travel brushes right in here. But this is so cool, right? Because literally you could start out with your first set of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 colors, and then you can mix some custom colors from these in here. And then as you get like crazy and want to add little colors, like maybe you want to add a phthalo turquoise, or, you know, some maybe a Prussian blue, then you can add those to this palette. And now you've got something that literally your brush will go into. I have to secure these, and I'll prepare one for you guys and do a neat video on it separately. But you can travel with this, right? You can put a little cloth in there. You could put some water in there. You could put a water brush in there. There's all kinds of things you could do in this cool tin, and it's beautiful. This is my favorite way to bring watercolor with me. I think it's amazing. You could even put a little flask in there of water, because the tin is so deep that literally you have a lot of room. So this is what I would recommend. Another idea for you too with this, the lid can be a mixing area, and you could cut pieces of your watercolor paper to fit in this tin and literally paint right here. So you would be, this is all you would need for travel. How awesome is that? And you could just put your little handmade postcards in here, and you would be able to paint. You could hold, I mean, so many of them, right? Like, this is just one. I could hold at least 20 of them in here. And what could be better? I mean, I literally wouldn't have, actually, I think I'm going to do that myself. I love it. All right, so that's an idea. I also want to see if this fits. Hang on. I have this great water container that I bought from Faber-Castell. So I'm curious. Yeah. No. Well, if I had a rubber band, it would fit. It's just a little bit big. But I know they do make them flatter by other companies. But you could get one of these pop-up things. But, you know, the worst case scenario is you just put this in your bag, right? Next to it. But I think this is awesome. I mean, literally, I could even sharpen down a pencil and put a pencil in here as well. I can't even tell you how many things I could do with this tin. This would be great. Okay, so that's the intro to this video. Let's get to swatching out this paint and painting a mini painting with it so that you can see just how well this performs. Oh, as a side note too, another question was, what are we putting our watercolor on? Well, I get these blocks by Paul Rubens that I really like. I actually get hot press because I love the smoothness of it, and it really works well for my stuff. But a lot of these spiral bound books already have these like really, really hard backings. So, you know, usually you don't really need a lot, but if you did, depending on what you're using, I would either get a canvas panel, which is really cheap. You can get a bunch of them for nothing, and you can literally like put watercolor ground on it and use it for your swatches if you want. Or just, I love these. I mean, literally, if I needed something, I would get 2 of these and I would fix them together with hinges and use these as my, you know, little travel pack. I think this is awesome. But I don't happen to need a big old surface like this because I have blocks. So blocks really make things a lot easier. Or I'll use something that has a spiral bound notebook, you know. I also have, you know, for the sake of argument, I've made larger travel like this was just a German pencil company, and I filled it with my own wells, full pans. I have this little clip, and if I were painting, I mean, I can literally just clip it on, and now, you know, you have a circumstance where it's not going to go anywhere. And then I could put watercolor here too, and I can literally paint here. So there are all kinds of ways of doing this. Just don't get locked down into what you think you should be doing. Get creative. You know what I mean? And literally, if you want something this thin, I mean, just take an old pencil tin, right? This is great, super thin. But I still think the Sennelier idea to start out with can't get any better than that, right? For $20, it comes with your tin. So this is just a little clamp. These are really handy, especially on windy days if you want to clamp things down. This is kind of cool though. I mean, because the depth of this would really keep your paints really nice and safe. And then if it, you know, you just pop this on, maybe put, I mean, it doesn't really come off easy, but you could put an elastic and then just put your, you know, if you had brushes or something too long, you could put them in a brush pack and tuck them all together. Otherwise, just get the travel brushes and stick them inside. Neat, huh? Yeah, really cool. Okay, so I guess I'm going to use this lid to sample so that I can keep you in tune with what we're doing here. All right, let's start with, where's that nice little thing I did for you? Here we go. Okay. So let's get you in focus. Everybody can see. We'll put this here and put this here so you can see what's going on. Okay, here we go, guys. Let's paint. I'm so excited. So this is the 501 lemon yellow that you get in the set. 10 mLs. That's a lot of paint, my dears. Should we put it in our new palette even though I haven't locked all these down? I don't know. Let's put it here first. It'll take a while for me to fill the palettes, so let's just put it there. Okay. Get my brush. I always use 3 waters because they, one for clean, one for dirty. Look at that color. Oh my goodness. It's so, so beautiful. I'm actually going to put it here. I mean, Sennelier, you can't beat the color. The saturation's amazing. It does so many things so easily, you know. And it will lighten up for you. Just, oh, it's just gorgeous. I love it. Let's take some off the bottom so you have a little bit of lightness. And I'll put it a little heavier on the top so you can see the transparency. You can see it even lifts really, really easily. It's just beautiful. It really is so pretty. Okay, next color. So you get 619. This is bright red, which I happen to still use to this day, especially because I have so much of it. I have a ton of it because I bought so much in the beginning, and you don't go through these that much, but for $20, oh my goodness, guys, how can you not? Look at this. All right, transparent, semi-transparent, I would say, and I'm laying this on really, really thick. So we're gonna, this is our yellow. We're going to mix a little bright red in there and paint the bright red across so we have some mixing area for that too. Rinse out my brush, get some clean water on it, and let's just let this travel. Look at that. Beautiful. Look at that. Just explosive. Let's wet my brush out and let's see what kind of mix this will give us. That's pretty. It always mixes really well. So you can see I've got the yellow. Ignore this. This is the Quinn Gold. That is something that I love to always order, but they don't make it anymore. I have a ton of it. I think I bought the rest of it. This is where we are, bright red, 619. So I can literally mix my bright red and get a very, very light transparent orange. We can even get a little heavier orange. I need some more yellow. Get some more yellow for you. I'm going to need it anyway. I always use my yellows. Okay. This is so pretty. This brush holds so much water. Let's be careful when I'm mixing color because it holds a ton of water. It's the Da Vinci. So, mixing up, this is a really, really, really nice mix to make orange. It's beautiful. And I can get a little darker, get a little lighter. This is mixing on paper really, really well, actually. I just have to keep my brush not so wet so that it doesn't wash everything away, because the color will come off. It will lift really easily. It's not super, super staining. So look at how beautiful that is. All right, let's go to the next one. So now we have Ultramarine Deep 315, a gorgeous color. Wait till you see this. You can use this for skies and water. And we're going to do some mixes down below as well, so that you can actually see a landscape painting in just a second. Look at that. It's so beautiful. Okay, let me get some water out of my brush. And I'll get just the color in there. Isn't that just beautiful? It's even got a little granulation. For those of you who are not familiar with granulation, it's when it dries, it's stunning, really stunning. So when we mix it over the yellow, you get a green. Look at that. It's like a beautiful green. When we mix it over the red, you're going to get your moody purple. It's pretty nice. I like it. Let's get plenty of color on there. So I'm going over this line so that you can see, you can see the different shades. You go from light to dark, and you can also see how clear the color is and how much granulation is actually in it. Look at this green. You can even go lighter than that. I just don't have room. You'll probably see it in the painting though. The next one is 703, and this is Payne's Gray. Payne's Gray is a great neutral to have in your palette. I don't use a lot of grays because you can mix your colors together and get gray very, very easily. This is a really, really pretty color though. If you ever wanted to do like a monochromatic urban painting and then just maybe add an accent of color to it, it would be incredible. Stormy sky. You can mix it with the you mix it with the blue, and you get this like granulated, really pretty, like almost like an indigo. You know what I mean? That's just great. Pretty shade, isn't it? Actually reminds me, I love doing swatches because it always reminds me of, I'm going to add a lot of water so that I can backwash it a little bit. Always reminds me of what you can do with the colors that you have, you know, like you tend to reach for the same colors. You'll eventually go through this and then you'll be like, God, I never do anything with this color anymore, you know? Goes over, layers over the red really, really well. And you get kind of like this moody, it's like a purpley gray. Because it does have a little bit of undertones of blue in it, so it's going to give you more moody. And then if we mix it with the yellow, say it hits the yellow, you're getting another. So if you did an underpainting, you just wanted to know what colors you're going to get. You get like more of a warm gray. And finally, 645 Chinese orange. Everybody needs an orange. I mean, to me, orange is a little bit of a convenience color, but I have so many artists that just love this color because of its flexibility, and that it just gives them that beautiful warmth when they need it, you know? And you can see why. I mean, you can mix your orange, but this is very, very vibrant, but at the same time, it's got a lot of transparency, you know? And it just, it's just great. I mean, some people will not have a palette without one of these colors like burnt sienna in it, because they just use it, especially in urban painting. I'm going to show you how well that color pops in just a second. So we're just going to add this here. Just so we can see it a little bit longer. And when, see, look at how pretty that is. When mixed over this color, again, it just, Payne's Gray is going to add a lot of mood and shadow to anything. So you can literally use it to get a complementing shadow for whatever color that you add it to. But just so that you can see, the colors work really, really well together. And they don't really, you know, nothing goes to mud, and that's really important. You know, it's more like a shadow if it mixes, or you get another color, like a convenience color, by mixing them. And it's good to know what they're going to turn into, because you need to, you know, if you want to use a set like this to its best potential, you need to know what will brighten, and when it's mixed together, what you can put side by side and what you can layer. Like the Chinese orange over the lemon is clean and it's beautiful. It just brightens it even more. So you don't have to worry about that, you know. The Chinese orange over blue, it gets really like almost like a moody brown with a little bit of a black line. I mean, Payne's Gray is going to add a shadow to pretty much anything it goes on, you know. And I love the fact that you can get almost an indigo from mixing the ultramarine deep with the Payne's Gray. Okay, let's do a quick landscape down here. I'm trying to think if I'll just try and use this. Usually I use like a palette knife for my landscapes because it's a great way to start. And so let's just go ahead. We're just going to grab literally, I'm going to grab a little bit of this, and then let's see if I can load this on my brush this way, or on my palette this way. I'm going to put the Chinese orange next to the yellow. I'm going to put the red next to the yellow. I'm going to put the blue next to the red because that gives us purple. And then we're going to put a little bit of the Payne's Gray. Why not? Let's just put them all on the palette, shall we? We'll get that indigo going on. Hopefully I have enough of these colors on here. Okay, are we ready? Let's turn it over because I'm trying to think if I should wet the paper first. I don't know. I think I'm going to wet the bottom of the paper a little bit here. All right, are we ready? Here we go. Okay, made a mess, of course. Got this. Just take up some of my excess spray here. Let it mix a little bit. I know, I'm daring. Now I'm going to go sideways. I'm going to take the excess paint off. This is a really quick landscape, but these are so fun to do. I have a little bit of extra water here pooling, which is, this paper is handling it really, really well, isn't it? So I'm going to use that down here on my Moody mix, just so that I can get that. All right, get rid of this. I'm going to take a towel and just sop up some of this color and a little bit of the extra wetness, because I want some of these brights to remain. I don't want to get rid of all of them. And I also want to, if I remove some of the excess water that's puddling here, then I can see what I've got. Cool. That's without me even doing anything. See what's on my brush. Okay, so on my brush I've got this nice indigo. That's really, really neat actually, but I think I'm gonna just give it a little more. Lighten it up a little bit. Okay. Let's take some off, just because we want it to dry and I don't want you waiting forever. Let's get a little more of my Payne's gray. This is a very abstract landscape, but I think you'll see something in it. But isn't this great? Look at how well these colors work together. Let's brighten up our reds a little bit as it's drying. And this is just the side of the brush. I mean, basically I could use the palette knife again if I wanted to. Now look at this beautiful purple. This is where you're seeing. Now, the reason why I'm bringing these colors through in this abstract is because I want you to see, as they mix together, how pretty they are as I'm touching different areas. Rinse my brush out so I don't carry too much. Let's add a little more of this yellow in here. Little shot of yellow, I love that. I'll put a little more here. Gives us something. Made another color. Let's get some blue. Now, as it's drying, it's actually going to change a lot. And just let it, you know, in abstract painting, just let it, see what happens. Now, okay, so I've got this beautiful kind of moodiness going on here. I'm going to clean this up a bit. Make sure I have enough light in my paintings. Now once it dries, and I'm not going to make you wait for this to dry, that's when you can go back in with a shot of color, for instance. But let's just try and do it now. So I'm going to take my palette knife or whatever that you're using to smear it in. Let's just put some of this blue right on the tube and just breaking it down just like that. Just because I want a little more of this blue. Now, if this were more dry, it would stay more concentrated. You know what I mean? But I just want to kind of create visually kind of like this blue area, almost like blue mountains in the background. Pretty, huh? And I'm going to add a little more for balance. I'm going to just add a little more shot of the blue down here. Using the palette knife is a great way to get concentrated paint. Now this is why I said I would much rather see you as a beginner starting with tubes, because there's so much more that you can do with tubes. You can't do this with pans. You know what I mean? You can't get this depth, this quality of color from the pans, because the pans just, they don't give you enough. You would have to liquefy the entire pan pretty much. So you get a lot more if you buy your watercolors this way. And that's why this is my answer to your question. You know, what would I start with? This is, you know, after investing in so many palettes. In fact, I have more coming in for my birthday, so I can review a bunch of different palettes for you guys from different companies. But yeah, that looks really good. After just doing this for so long, I realized that it really comes down to what you're most comfortable with and the brand that you love. But in the beginning, that's when you're shaping your skills, and that's when you're really suffering the most, right? You're like struggling the most with your paints. So you could invest hundreds and hundreds of dollars in paints without really knowing where you're going or what you're doing, where you could just basically combine paints and have so many options. Now, just finishing off this video while this dries, let me show this to you guys. There's our painting. Look at how beautiful the colors play together. It's really, really pretty. And that was just a quick landscape. So let's just real fast draw down some mixes so that you guys can see how pretty the greens are that you're going to get from just the lemon yellow and the blue. So I got a little pastel green here. It's really pretty. It's a very, very pretty warm green. Isn't that beautiful? If we add a little more of the blue, I'm going to get you a deeper green. This is the lemon and the ultramarine. So I'm going to get a lot of color there. Let's get more yellow. This is why I said I use a lot of yellow. I love the yellows. But how can you go wrong? $20 and it includes a travel palette. You just have to order the pans, you know? Okay. Look at that color. Look at how beautiful. And Sennelier paints are so smooth. They really are. So look at how many different shades you're going to get. This bright little lemony yellow color. I mean, look at these. They're so beautiful. I can get a really deep sea green. That's really pretty. It's got like a bluey green. It's really pretty. And if I add more blue, I can get a really deep. Look at that. So, so nice. It's almost like a teal. So pretty. So you can see just with those two colors, you get a really, really nice range, right? So that's those. Let's do another one. Let's do it with the red and the blue. Because aside from that, I mean, all the other colors are good too, but this is really gonna, it really gives you the rainbow, you know? It gives you so many. You can make oranges. Look how great that color is. It just does such a good job. So as I get more red over here, you can see I get this really beautiful, like, I got a mauvey raspberry, almost like a pinky raspberry. Oh, that's beautiful. And it can actually go pretty transparently light for those of you who like to paint really light. And I even get like a periwinkle. Look at that. Look at these lavenders. They're so pretty. Look at that. Now, if we go really, really dark, we'll get a very, very moody purple like we did here, you know? But look at how pretty that is. And if you want to do backwashes, this does backwashes so well. And if you want to remove color, Sennelier removes color well. So, I mean, you really have everything you need for $20. So that's definitely what I would recommend if you're just getting started. It's not a big investment. You can have so much open to you in this one palette, you know? Oh my gosh, these colors are just great. All right. So that's my advice. Got red all over me. Remember, as a bonus, you can just buy some of these pans and either fix them down with little magnets that you can get on Amazon, or a little bit of putty like I did, or even two-sided double stick tape, whatever it is that you want to hold them in the middle. You can arrange it any way you want to. You can even put like smaller pans in here. You don't have to use the full pans. You can even take 2 rows out. You could put your thing in there, like have your basics up here and then your mixes down here. Even leave some empties so that you can mix right in there and have that color to go back to later. I like to do that because if I don't have a mixing well with me and I'm out, maybe leave a few of these pans open, and that way you can mix your colors right in there, and you don't have to worry about losing the color. You know what I mean? Here, I would do dry mixes on here. Another thing you can also do is they make a paper that's like a palette paper that you could cut into little squares and fill that as well. But really, I mean, this is great. Look at that. It doesn't even bead up. It literally has enough texture for you to mix on there. All right, guys. Well, I hope you enjoyed this. Thank you so much for hanging out with me again. And let me know what you want to see next. If you want to see me swatch out and play with the White Knights and give you my review on that, then certainly leave me a message. If you want me to go through my Winsor Newton palette or my Schmincke palette, whatever it is, I pretty much have it. So just let me know. I have so much paint. All right. Coming up after my birthday in August 9th, I'll be celebrating with lots and lots of open box videos for you, as well as incredible new paint that I'll be swatching, and more urban landscapes, florals, just all kinds of really fun projects that you can do. So yeah, I'm excited. All right, guys, have a great one. Happy painting.